Okay, uh, I will be onboarding the Juniper fabric. We do have two spines and three leaves in the topology. Um, this particular setup is hosted on a virtual QFX environment, and the purpose of this demo is to discover this fabric from Contrail SDN controller, and then provision the fabric by Contrail tool. This is a brownfield deployment. That means we do have some configurations on these boxes. What I'm showing on this setup is I've got two spines and three leaves, and I've got these IP addressing established. So if I quickly skim over the individual devices, I've got this BGP configured for this particular fabric, and I've got these three sessions established. If I quickly run um, to see how many prefixes are being advertised, so we see we do have the underlay loopbacks being announced from the three leaves and the alternative spine. So I'm going to jump onto the Contrail command dashboard so that I can start the fabric discovery, onboarding, and provisioning of the tool. So once you log into Contrail command, this is the landing page. It shows the status of all the individual components of the Contrail controller, compute, config, analytics, and database nodes. This is a single web UI for managing the fabric. So in order for us to onboard the fabric, we'll go to infrastructure, we'll pick up the fabric component. We don't have any fabric right now. We're going to create a new fabric. Because this is a onboarded a brownfield environment where we do have some configuration already on the Juniper QFX devices, I'm going to click existing fabric and I'm going to click on provision. As soon as we click on the existing fabric, we get to this portal, and it's self-explanatory. We can write the names. So I'll just write the new data center. Once we go down, this is going to require the credentials. This is the credentials where Contrail command is going to SSH into individual devices. So I've got the username password already configured. I'm going to just pass on those credentials. As far as the management subnets are concerned, we need to give the subnet, which is reachable for the Contrail controller to reach out to individual QFX devices. So this can be the EM0 interface, what we do have here. Following the Word document, we do have the EM0 interfaces. So I'm going to define all these interfaces one by one. In no particular order, we can push them. Because I have a /32, I'm not giving us a gateway because the Contrail resides on the same subnet as to these devices. I'm going to add all of these devices one by one. And the last one is 45. So we've given these 5 EM0 out-of-band management interfaces for the Contrail to discover these devices. If you further go down, it asks for the loopbacks. This is the subnet on which the overlays are going to be established. So again, we've got these pre-configured because this is a brownfield environment. So I'm going to grab these one by one, and I'm going to assign them to different nodes. And the last one is 50, 50, 50.1/32. If we go further down, this is more needed for the underlay and the greenfield deployment. What we do, we'll skip this because we already have these configured. Once you are finishing this information, you can go to the next page. This is a step which is going to take some time because what is happening behind the scenes is Contrail is discovering the devices based on the QFX templates assigned into the Contrail solution. It's running those playbooks, which is going to discover those devices based on the serial numbers or based on the individual components. While it starts to execute this job, Control is gonna not only discover, but it's also gonna onboard the fabric, and it's gonna start to assign us a particular role so that we can go to the next portal. I'm gonna pause this because this is gonna take some time. As this is discovering, device discovery progress is in process. As we can see that the QFX 10,000s, all 5 devices have been discovered. It's actually running a scan on the assigned devices. Now, the next stage in which Contrail is actually now discovering the entire configuration of the boxes. So it's discovering the devices, defining the number of interfaces. It's following up on the entire configs onto the box so that the fabric is not only discovered correctly, but also onboarded onto the tool. It usually takes a couple of minutes. If the config is not too complex, it's going to go quickly. But it's the status is pretty evident here. It shows onboarded, and we can see that it's detected the vendor, the QFX product name, the host name of the box, and also the IP addresses, which is being assigned onto the EM0 interface on which the device is discovered. Okay, so the device discovery progress has completed. We see the green bar. That means every device has been successfully discovered. So we'll go to the next stage, which is next. Once we come to this particular step 3 is about assigning the roles. So we know that we have 5 devices, but as we discussed, 2 of the devices are spine and the 3 are leaf. So we need to assign those individually. So this is a leaf. I'm going to assign a leaf role, and that's a leaf device. And the leaf is actually working as a CRB access because in our scenario we are using the CRB mode, and these are the only 2 real roles that I need to assign to the leaf. I'll follow this for the other leaves as well. And for the spine, I'm going to assign a spine role, and I will assign a CRB gateway and a route reflector because this is going to be a route reflector for our IP fabric as well. Spine, CRB gateway, and route reflector. Assign. Once we assign these roles to individual spines and leaves, we can just go to the next step by pressing auto configure. This step is going to take some time because now what Contrail is doing is actually assigning entire configuration for all the overlay tunnels that will establish onto the spine and leaf. It's going to go assign the roles to the devices, provision the EVP and VXLAN tunnels, and it's going to take that to the next step. So the status that you see is not clear here. It shows auto configure progress, but it's actually working behind the scenes. It's pushing all the configs to the boxes. So if I go and say next, we'll see that this is a process which is ongoing right now. Telemetry profiles, so we don't need to change anything right now. We need to, I'm not touching the telemetry. I'll skip this step, and I'll press finish. Once I press finish, you'll see that there's a config change that has happened on these devices. So all these devices are not only discovered, but also onboarded with changes. So this is a quick quick check on all the devices. I'm going to give a couple of minutes because the job is still going on. If we look at the notifications and the jobs that are going in the background, we'll see that there are some configurations that are being pushed. So it's not ended yet. It's still ongoing. So these are the jobs that we have done for the entire cluster. So you see that all the roles have been finished, but this one is still work in progress. So I'll take a pause and I'll return once this is completed. Okay, so it took a couple of minutes. It took 3 to 4 minutes, and we can see the status has been completed. It shows all the devices have been onboarded and provisioned. So if we go quickly onto the CLI, we'll see the differences in configuration. If I do compare rollback 2, we can see the changes that Contrail has made. So we had a Brownfield underlay configuration already established. What Contrail did is the following. It created the certain policies. It's all of the plumbing work that needs to go in once we are provisioning the fabric of size of 2 spine and 3 leaves. There's a lot of config that goes in, and it's a lot of manual work. Contrail tool does take care of all of that configuration for all the overlay established tunnels that will establish the policy enforcement of VTEPs. All of this is pre-provisioned from Contrail tool. And if I quickly see now the status of the BGP, we can see that we have EVPN tunnels established all across with all the leaves and the spine. Now we can see that we have a VXLAN INET0 table established. And once the workloads are onboarded or attached to the leaves, all of those will be populated. All of that routes will be populated here. So we can see that we have VXLAN tunnel established. This time, if we go back to the fabric, we can see that we have a DC new fabric that is provisioned here.